Well, we got snow. It's not much, but it's something. And the rest of the entire rifle season is not looking good for any more snow. So this is the only day in the Wisconsin rifle season that we're gonna be able to cut a fresh track like this on good fresh snow. It came yesterday at about 8 a.m. in the morning. You know, we're pushing about 20-hour-old snow right now. So what I'm gonna be looking for as I'm driving here is not just tracks crossing the road, but I'm gonna be looking for tracks that are on top of all of the tire tracks. Well, I found a fairly decent track here. The only thing that's got me hesitating is it's not very heavy on the dew claws. But the stride, everything, the track looks pretty good sized. I just found another decent track. But this is maybe 100 yards further ahead, and these tracks are a little more fresh. Might be the same deer. That's a good track right there. Dew claws wide and heavy. Big looking track. More dew claws up here. He's walking, so that's two steps, so he's walking track. The only thing that's tricky is it's getting closer towards some private land. Well, I just found another nice track here. You can see some dew claws. Looks pretty wide. Only dilemma is, once again, this one's pushing tight to some private. This one isn't quite as big as the other one, not as heavy, but that's a nice track. That's a good deer. I just found a beast track. Holy cow. Take a look at that. Mega giant. Heavy. And there's a nice rub too. So this deer has been hanging out closer towards this private land, and he is leaving some big sign everywhere. He's a beast. But he headed into this block of timber going in this direction, and that's all private land back over there. So I'm gonna try to skirt along the side and see if he came out over this direction. I checked a bunch of these logging roads that kind of circled around the direction that he was going, and he didn't cross them, which means that he was headed right straight back into the private land, and he only had about 150 yards of woods that was public land on that side. So I mean, maybe there's a chance he's bedded in there, but you got one crack and that's it if he is bedded there. So I'm just gonna keep moving along here and see if I can't scrounge up something else. Jumping into the big timber now. This is a section where there's a lot of public land. So far I've been going 3 to 4 miles on this road, and I have, I was just about to say, yet to see a deer track. Oh, it's a rabbit. Dummy. Just found a decent track, but it's pretty old. So interestingly, that buck is going into private property again. It's the same thing I'm seeing everywhere up here. It's like if you've got homes and corn piles, that's where you see the deer. But anything out in the woods, big woods areas, it's like a deer desert. So I'm swinging back up here to this first big track that I found. I'm just gonna give her and see what happens. I was able to circle around all the way around most of this section, and I didn't see his track come out. So he either went into the private land or he's still in this section right here. God sakes, that thing is huge. second rub I've seen in here. There we got a poop spot. And then the first bed right there. I think he spent a lot of time in this bed because he melted it right down. That's his track exiting the bed. Looks pretty big. And then right in front of it is some poop. I'm not really smelling a whole lot of rutting buck smell here, which is a little concerning. It's still greasy and mushy, and it's 22 degrees out, and it's been 11 degrees this morning. This deer's close. Well, it just caught up to the buck. It's soft bed with bounding tracks out of it, barnacles. I was not expecting to be this close to the buck, to be honest. I thought he was going to be a ways ahead of me because the track looked a little bit old yet. And get this, right where those maples are, that's where I came popping out over here and walked maybe 10 yards from this bed to go over where his tracks went. So he just did like a little loop in here. My wind right now is kind of blowing at a crosswind from where he exited. So I should be okay with the wind. The biggest thing I'm concerned about is that he's going to go run over onto the private land over there. I don't know how good of a look he got at me. I never saw him, never heard him. I don't know how close I got to him. But I was close enough. Hey, Todd.
Did you freshen him up?
Yeah, yep. I got his fresh bed heat with running tracks coming out of it.
Okay. Well, give him as much time as you can, at least a half hour.
Yeah, it's already been probably 10 minutes.
Okay, and here's what you want to do.
Yep.
You can move fast when he's running until he hits a point where he starts to he slows down to a walk.
Okay.
When you get to a point where he starts walking,
yep. Slow down.
I mean, you move as freaking slow as you possibly can, and you rip apart every square inch of that woods. And no, don't take steps. Just slide forward. You know what I mean?
Yep. The one thing though that's got me a little bit curious is that he seems to be walking through a lot of like really thick stuff and kind of walking almost like a doe, but he's got his tarsal scent in the bed. It's not very strong, but it's there. It's like there's parts of this that make me think that he isn't as big of a buck as I thought. But the track, it's like how do you disagree with the track? It's huge.
Yeah. Well, I've already taken deer with huge feet and then come up on a small rack buck, so you never know.
Well, I mean
you're looking for your first tracking buck, so
it doesn't matter. I'll shoot whatever, as long as it's got horns. We're gonna step this off and see how big this bed actually is. Okay, so it starts about right here. 1, 2, 3.5 step bed. So my boots are about a foot apiece. So the bed does not appear to measure a whole lot. It's 3.5 steps. So, and then the rubs that I found back there were kind of lower to the ground, so I'm wondering if this is like a clown-footed 2-year-old buck or something like that. But either way, we're on it, and we're caught up. First time this season we've caught up to a buck, so if I shoot him, I'd be stoked. So looking at this spot where this buck bedded, he's got these conifers on his backside right here. He's got the sun hitting him in the face so it can kind of warm him up. Now if you notice here, this is right on the edge of a slashing. So this is all a big cut right over here, and this is all hardwoods. And so he's kind of right on the edge of that here. I'm gonna get after this here. He ran about 75 yards and stood here and looked back. And now his tracks are walking from here. I'm going to take it really slow now. Gotta be kidding me. Some big freaking mambo doe. Unbelievable. Dang it. I could have killed that thing. It stopped right in my opening. I had the gun on it. And I didn't see any antlers right away. I'm like, oh crap. So I pull up the gun. Oh. Gotta be kidding me. The deer bounded out of his bed right over here. Stepped perfectly into my opening. If that would have just been a buck, I'd be tagged out right now because I could have just drilled him. Here's the plan. I'm gonna go over to that other big track that I found this morning. I know that one was kind of buttoned up tight to some private land as well, but I gotta give it a try.
It did not take long to get on this deer, and I guess I was just starting to get a feel for what this deer was by the time I caught up to it, and it's like, well, at this point, I mean, what the heck, you know? So even if it was a small buck, I was willing to go for it, but stupid stinking doe. Come on, like, are you kidding me? It's one of the biggest tracks I've ever seen. Stupid. And I'm gonna try to get after that other buck. Well, I think it's a buck. Maybe I'm just totally off base and there's just a bunch of big giant doe out here in Wisconsin, so it is what it is. Learning lesson.
Here he crosses the road and goes into the neighbor's piece. Barnacles. I was kind of worried about that. There wasn't a whole lot of land to work with over